It is now my pleasure to introduce the main speaker of the morning, Gilbert M. from Phoenix, Arizona. That was looking this up. No, usually we had someone introduce it, but since I was chairing the main meeting, this morning, that I'm going to introduce Gilbert. I told Gilbert last night when Terry was introducing me the main speaker, I was like, dude, I'm not going to be able to do anything like that, dude, I'm sorry. Terry had everyone fired up, but the thing of it is like, my grand sponsor is Gilbert's sponsor, so we came from the same lineage, we come from the same thing, and the thing of when we get out of rehab, they're like, get an H&I commitment, get a home group, get a service commitment at the home group, get an H&I commitment. And I met Gilbert at Heroin Anonymous H&I, the thing about Gilbert is that he has served on intergroup, he has served constantly on intergroup, he has served constantly on H&I, he has taken meetings in, he's started meetings, and he's done this all on his feet. He does not have a license, and years of service, getting around, weekly meetings, weekly H&I, weekly, every week. And he's there no matter what, and he's consistent. And the thing of it is as a result of that, we started doing an H&I meeting at Aurora when we first started getting meetings in Aurora, me and him, every week, and Sam out too. And he would be there every week, and I would pick him up on the way there. And the thing of it is that we became friends. We became very good friends. He's one of my closest friends today. And I remember, I would drag him, and he was always like, I'm only doing HA. I'm only doing HA. And I'm like, come on, come to these other conventions with me. Come to these other, and I got him to come to a couple conventions, and he would always talk about, we would be sitting in the room in the main conventions, and he would always look around, and he'd always be like, I hope that I live to see the day that HA has this. A convention, a room full of people. And last night when we were looking around, sitting at the table, I said, Gilbert, that day has happened, Not only did you get to see that day, but you are also the main speaker at the morning meeting, at the closing meeting. And so it's a pleasure to introduce Gilbert, man. One of my closest friends and one of the most dedicated persons to Heroin Anonymous that I know. And with that, Gilbert.
Good morning, family. My name's Gilbert. I'm a heroin addict. And my sobriety date is January 24th, 2011. I thank God for that all the time. I didn't pick that date. It just kind of happened. I had no reason to think that date would be any more significant than any of the other sobriety dates I've had before. There was nothing special about that date. There was nothing tragic. There was nothing exceptional. It was just another day in a long string of days. And you know what? Really quick, I want to thank everybody that had a hand in putting this convention together. Seriously, and ever since I sobered up, there's been talk about it. And then a couple of years ago, they started actually talking about committees and I don't know. It's just really been a beautiful thing to be able to see it happen. And I don't know. It's just Heroin Anonymous is it's special to me because I'm a heroin addict mostly, and I've always identified mostly as a heroin addict. And I never honestly, in the other failed attempts at staying sober, it would be in other fellowships, and I never really felt 100% comfortable there. I always felt like I was faking. And so the first time I went to a Heroin Anonymous meeting, the first thing I thought of was this is some cheesy AA knockoff. I'll never come back. I really thought, I was like, God, this is just horrible, And you know what? I stayed. And I continued to come back, and all kinds of amazing, remarkable things I've seen. And check this out. I know, anyways, my sobriety date, as I said, is January 24th, 2011. Want to hear some really cool history? January 24th, 1918, Bill married Lois. 1945, the first all-black meeting in St. Louis was formed. 1945, January 24th, 1945, the first all-black meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous was formed in St. Louis. On January 24th, 1971, Bill Wilson died. 40 years to the date, it's my sobriety date. Like, I don't know what that means, but it makes me feel real cool. It just does. Oh, God. Anyways, like I said, what happened for me was this, right? I was the fifth of I was my mother's baby. My mom had 5 kids, and I was the baby, and I guess I was like the golden child, the spoiled one. I don't know. And in any case, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, around 12, 13-ish, I rebelled. I don't know why. I have no good reason. I still don't know. It just seemed like, I don't know. It just seemed like a good thing to do. And I just started rebelling from her and from everything. And I think I actually started smoking cigarettes, or attempting to smoke cigarettes. I'd steal my mom's cool cigarettes or her Virginia Slims. Yeah, not a real manly cigarette to get started with, but whatever. Anyways, so I started let me say this. The first time I actually set out to get intoxicated, I didn't even know what that meant, but the very, very first time I set out to get high, intoxicated, whatever, it was me and 2 other kids. It was 2 brothers, actually. It was Freddie and Jerry and me, and we went out and we bought 3-quart bottles of Ripple. I don't know if you guys know what that is, man, but I don't think it has any grapes in it. You know, it just does. And it's like Kool-Aid with a kick. And I don't know what they were doing with their quart bottles, but I'm like 13 years old. We're at a park, and it's night, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. I don't know why, but I'm like really trying to get to the bottom of this. And I didn't get to. Like, the older kids in the neighborhood knew my brother and their brothers, and they came and they smacked us around, took our bottles, and sent us home. With the threat, if we didn't go home, they would tell our older brothers, and we'd get our ass kicked again. So I just went home. And I woke up in the morning, and nothing happened. Seriously, I didn't steal a car and run over some nuns, and I didn't get raped, you know what I mean? I didn't rob a bank. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened other than a really severe hangover. You know what I mean? And I remember hugging the toilet and doing what a lot of us, I hear now, do. Hug the toilet and throw up and say that prayer, I will never, ever, 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 in this lifetime, drink Ripple again. I didn't say I was not going to drink. I just was going to drink Ripple because Ripple seemed to be the problem. And that's kind of the way it started for me. And it wasn't long after that I started doing other things. I used to love to take acid and smoke pot and do all those cool things. And then for no reason, some reason, because it was summer, I can't tell you why. I have no reasoning for what I'm about to tell you, but I was walking with this kid named Angel one day, and we had just committed a burglary, and we had money. And I don't know if it was his idea or my idea, but one of us thought it'd be a really cool idea to shoot some heroin. And he said, want to do that? And I said, oh yeah, I do it all the time. You know what I mean? He was like, really? Yeah, dude, no problem. So, okay, at that time, in my neighborhood, 14-year-old heroin addicts was frowned upon by other heroin addicts. They wouldn't sell to us. It was a really difficult task of finding someone that would not only sell it to us, but buy it for us, because no one was going to sell it to us. So it was like this long adventure, and we finally found somebody that was of questionable moral character that was willing to buy it for us. And we ended up in what I now know to be a shooting gallery. If you don't know what that is, it's just like a house, a shack, a garage, a trailer. And we're a bunch of heroin addicts and other people hang around, and they just get loaded. And I went in there, and I remember he was in the bathroom, and I was standing in the hallway. I was looking down this long hallway to the backyard because the door was open, and there was a backyard. I could see these 3 dudes over there hugging each other, and it looked like they were playing in a sprinkler. I was like, awesome, that looks like so much fun. You know what I mean? And my arm is like this, and the guy's doing whatever he's doing, And I look over at him, he's getting ready to do what he's going to do. And then I look up again and I actually see what I'm looking at. And what I'm looking at is not three guys hugging, singing music and kumbaya and playing in front of a sprinkler. It's two guys holding up the guy in the middle because he's OD'd and they're hitting him with a water hose so that he won't die. And I realized that and I turned around and said, no. But it was a little too late because he had already done what he was supposed to do and he stuck it in me and the magic happened. And it happened every time I've ever did it, whether I did it like muscling it or any other method, it always worked. And so that was my first experience with shooting heroin. And the only reason I shot is because I didn't know there was any other way to do it. Nobody had told me, like, you have an option, Gilbert. You can, like, smoke it. You can probably snort it. You know what I mean? You can eat, you know. Nobody told me that. It was just what was available, and I did it. No other reason. I did it, and it worked, and I liked it. And I continued to pursue that for a long time, and a lot of things happened. Like, really, just stuff. It's life. And, like, I'm here to say to you, explain to you that, like, if you've never shot heroin, it's perfectly okay. You know what I mean? If you smoked it or if you snorted it, that's all right. Me, using heroin intravenously is not what qualifies me to be a heroin addict. So if you've never done that and you're wondering if you belong in a meeting of Heroin Anonymous, I'm here to absolutely unequivocally tell you that, yes, you are. You're welcome. You don't have to shoot heroin to be a heroin addict. Hell, you don't even have to go to prison to be a heroin addict. You don't have to lose everything to go to heroin. You know what? Going to prison kind of lost its, like, man card a lot. You know, it lost its tough man card for me when, like, Martha Stewart went to prison. You know what I mean? After that, like, dude, she had him over there making doilies. So, like, miss me with that I've been to prison stuff. You know what I mean? I've been there. You know what I mean? So that's why I could say that because I've actually been there. And I enjoyed it. But anyways, so like what ends up happening is I start there, and like I'm young, I'm 14 years old, it's 1980, and like it's kind of difficult for me to continue to enjoy doing it. Like I said, I don't come from any real money, so I had to generate money, and I did what was available to me at the time. And I'm saying that because like I did a lot of mostly property-related crimes like burglary, stealing cars, or shoplifting, and eventually graduated to other things. And I don't say that like to endorse that behavior. I'm just saying that because like if I would have been around a different group of people in a different city in a different time, I might very well have been a junk bond, you know, dude. I might have been like a used car salesman, or God forbid, like a phone room operator. You know what I mean? But I mean, that was just the means that was available to me to like generate income. It was not because like I was all that smart. It just was available. Like if I would have hung around a bunch of like gigolos, I probably would have been doing that. If I was hanging around prostitutes, trust me, I probably would have been doing that. This is just what was available to me. Not that I have anything, not that there's anything wrong with any of those career paths. I happen to enjoy working girls. They're really giving. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyways, what ends up happening is like I'm not a very good criminal, so I'm in and out of these like juvenile facilities over and over again. And every time I end up there, I sit there and I wonder like, how did I end up here? How did I end up here? Like this was not what I intended to do. I never equated the fact that like I'm shooting heroin at like 14, 15, 16 years old with the fact that I'm in jail. I just thought it was because like I was Mexican or because like, you know what I mean, I was on the wrong side of the tracks or the cops didn't like me. You know what I mean? And it's just, I just never made the equate, you know, I just couldn't do it. And in and out, in and out. And every time I'd go in there and I'd come up with a new plan for how I was never going to come back. Like if I got arrested for shoplifting, I'd say, well, shoplifting is not for you, Gilbert. That's not the career path for you. You should probably try like, burglaries. And I'd end up going out and trying it again, this time with burglaries, and I'd end up back in there again wondering like, damn it, burglaries does not seem to work for you. And then eventually I became an entrepreneur. And I started trying to sell heroin. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, monkeys can't sell bananas and Gilbert can't sell heroin. You know what I mean? I just can't do it. I am not capable of doing that. And I end up like messing it up and end up like owing people money and it just gets bad over and over again. And eventually, my mother just like hung in there with me through all this. Every time I went to jail, she was really supportive of me. She would go to the juvenile halls and visit me, go to all my court dates, and just love me as best as she could. And she's always been, I don't know why, I just always resented her because she just couldn't give me what I thought I needed to be happy. The type of home life I wanted, or whatever, because she just couldn't. And so anyways, what ends up happening is like eventually I just keep doing all these crimes, and what ends up happening is I end up doing a serious crime, and I'm an adult now. And it's a real serious crime. So I get arrested, I'm in the county jail, and I'm having a great time. We're shooting heroin, we're drinking hooch and smoking cigarettes. It's like awesome. You know what I mean? It's like college to me. And seriously, it was like, it was like one of the most fabulous times I've ever had. This was the 80s in LA County. You could have cash money, and people were bringing in drugs like it was nobody's business. So I had a fan. It was just great. I didn't make the connection to what was happening to me. I was so loaded. And what ends up happening was that I had gotten arrested for 4 kidnap robberies, and they were going to give me 4 life withouts. And my mom went to court and heard that. And like it broke her heart. Really broke her heart. And she came to visit me, and she goes, I've been hanging with you through all your little juvenile hall stuff, and like you're killing me. I can't do this with you. Where did I go wrong? What do you mean, where did you go wrong? She goes, I have to be the reason for this. There's no other explanation. No, you're fine. And she goes, well, I can't do this with you anymore. You need to do this on your own. All right, whatever. I didn't really particularly care. And so she basically, if I remember correctly, just basically told me she was going to just pray for me, and, she knows that I'm going to be safe. Because she would tell me that, I sleep better when you're in jail because, I don't have to wake up every night when I hear the ambulance or the helicopter or the sirens, because I know you're all right. She goes, I'm going to sleep better now. And that was, anyways, I didn't end up getting 4 life withouts. Obviously, I ended up taking a deal for 4 years, and I went to prison. I did the things people do in prison to excel in prison, because I just did. Whatever. It doesn't make any, there's a point to this, and I'm not trying to glorify prison or anything, but there's a point I'm trying to get to here, and I'll get to it a little further on. So when I go in there, I do all the things that I'm not supposed to do. And eventually, the state of California decides that for the safety and security of the institution, I can never, ever be allowed to play with anybody ever again. I need to be completely separated and isolated. I can never have contact with a human being ever again. I either die or parole, but I'll never have contact with a human being again. And they isolated me. And that still stands to this day. If I get arrested, I get completely isolated and pushed away from all the population, because I've proven over a course of time by my behavior, and they have the right guide, that I don't play well with others. I'm a safety and security threat to the institution and the inmates. And that ends up happening, and I get out, and and I just keep doing what I'm doing, and life goes on. Eventually I marry a woman, and we have a daughter. This is my daughter, Katie. She came to visit. She came to hear me at the convention. It's awesome. And really quick, before I go any further, I just wanted to say, Katie, that as long as the sky is blue and one is 2, there'll never be a father who loves his daughter more than I love you. And in spite of all that, she still loves me. And so anyways, I get out, and my wife, her mother, decides that it'd be a really good idea if we move out the neighborhood. So we moved to New York, and I agree, because they don't have heroin in New York. Seriously, I didn't think that. Whatever. So I go over there, and I get a really good job. I was driving a taxi. Because it's safe. I can't find heroin driving a taxi. I had no job skills, man. I just told you I spent my whole life in prison. I didn't learn how to drive until I was 28. So, yeah, I was about 27. No, I was 28. Yeah, I just learned. So, whatever. So I'm there, and eventually heroin finds me, or I find it, and I just start that pattern of getting loaded over there. See, but I didn't have that safety net anymore. When I was in California, I had a safety net. I grew up in a small neighborhood. I knew everybody, and everybody knew us. And back then, there was no cell phones, there was no pagers. In order for you to procure something illegal like heroin, you had to know somebody, and you had to go to their house. knock on their door and then be invited in to get it. Other than that, you weren't going to get it. So I go to New York, and it's a little different. They're doing it on street corners, and they're just giving it to anybody who wants it. Actually, they're like touting it. They're like, it's street, just like you would at a carnival. Like, hey, come here, I got this. And, hey, you want some of that? I got everything that'll cure you. I'm like, what? And so I get started over there, and I'm in and out, in and out. And the reason why I'm telling this is because that's where I found 12 steps. Eventually, my ex-wife was getting tired of me not coming home. She was really getting tired of me, like, not bring. When I would be home, that I wouldn't be there. I'd be knotted out, burning the couch, burning me. And so she started giving me these ultimatums. Like, I need to stop. And then I would try. Maybe I would succeed, or maybe I wouldn't. And then she would, like, insist that I do it with threats. Like, And it just kept going on and on and on. And I was not able to stop or stay stopped, is the story here. I couldn't. If I stopped, I couldn't stay stopped. And eventually, through another person, I ended up in my first rehab. And that was really significant because, like, I had never been to rehab before up until that point. This is no joke. I really mean this. I mean, it's funny, but it's not a joke. I thought that rehab meant, like, going to jail for 90 days and cleaning up. Seriously. And coming out and, like, not shooting heroin. Like, maybe, like, smoking pot or getting on methadone clinic and taking Xanny bars. That just seemed like reasonable. That's just, normal God-fearing heroin addicts do. To stay sober. And so I go to rehab, and then, like, I heard all this fantastic stuff I'd never heard before. I'm not being sarcastic when I tell you that it just blew my mind on the stuff that they were telling me. Like, they were saying I had a disease and that I wasn't responsible for all this stuff I had done. And I was like, what? Okay, I'll be an alcoholic. Yeah, sure. I'll be an addict. Sure. And I just would follow along with what other people were saying because it seemed like that's what I was supposed to do. And I don't know, but, like, they said all kinds of stuff in there. It was really valuable, helpful stuff. And I'm sure at some point they said something about a big book. I'm sure at some point they mentioned a meeting, and I'm sure they said, like, a sponsor. I didn't do any of those things. And when I left there after about, like, 90 days, me and her were fighting one day about something, and she left to California, and then I called somebody, and I was off to the races again. And then in 1999, she'd kicked me out for good, as it turned out, and I was homeless in the streets of New York, and it was winter, and I got arrested for... It's New York, right? Before I tell you what happened, I was walking down Central Avenue one day, and I'd been homeless, right, for a while. I'm not talking about, like, couch surfing homeless. I'm like homeless. And matter of fact, this is winter, right? And this is really... There was me and these two kids, right? And we had found this abandoned house, a 2-story house with hot and cold running water. So we were like, yeah, we're living high off the hog here, dude. Like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And one day I was walking down Central Avenue. It was probably like a Sunday afternoon, and I was looking through all these shops to see what I could get into. And I could see coming down the way a woman and her 2 kids pushing a stroller, and I looked. Oh, shit, it's my wife. She looks happy. Kids look well-fed and dressed. And I felt so ashamed that I ducked into one of the shops until she walked by, praying that she wouldn't walk in. I was a coward. Can I say I didn't feel really good about myself? And I'd like to tell you that was like a really spiritual moment that from there on I went to rehab, detoxed, and lived a happy life. That's not the case for me. See, we hear it all the time, and this is just my experience about, like, these moments of clarity. Books, we talk about them. And I could give you my experience. The moment of clarity is just basically this. That when I'm in the midst of what I'm doing, what ends up happening is there's this little window that opens up. It opens up, and for whatever length of time, I can see me for how I actually am. And the horror of what I'm doing to me and what I am is so traumatic. I can't take it. It's overwhelming me so much that I need to shoot heroin again to shut that window because I can't take it. And that's what it feels like, and that's what that felt like. What I had done, the window opened, and I seen what I was doing. I was hiding from my wife and kids. And it was just like traumatic. Like, I can't do this. So I went and did what we did. What did we do? And I went and I did whatever I did. I got a shot, and I did it. Eventually, I ended up getting arrested for sale of heroin in New York. And that's where they ended up eventually sending me to rehab. And that's where I actually got sober the first time. I was sober 3.5 years. And eventually, I'm not one of those people that when I go out, I smoke a joint and then the phenomenon of craving happens and I start shooting heroin. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people that accidentally sips a beer and then all of a sudden, no. It's not like that. What ends up happening is like, I go crazy. And the idea that a shot of heroin looks good just starts becoming really, really real to me. And I shoot heroin. I don't dip my toe in something else and then eventually start over there. I shoot heroin. And I ended up shooting heroin again, and then I got homeless again. And when I did that, I got sober that time in 1999. It was 2003. It was March. And what ended up happening at that point, I had a career. I had graduated college. I was working for United Healthcare. I had a really great job. I had a 401k. I had stock options. I had a life insurance policy. And that was March. May 1st, I was homeless again, and it was all gone. It was a good run, dude. I'm not saying that to imply, please don't misconstrue what I just said. I'm not implying that because I had a job, a car, an apartment, a 401k, that anyway equates with sobriety. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with it. It's just the situation as it was at the time. The only reason I mention it is to show you that I had stopped for 3.5 years, and in less than a month and a half, I shot heroin and I was broken homeless. That the disease had progressed to the point that, like, I was beyond where I was when I had stopped the first time. That's the only reason I'm saying that. Please don't misconstrue that like, having stuff implies that I am well. It doesn't. And if you don't hear anything else that I hear today, I'm here to tell you that our way of life works, period. That's it. There is no exception to what I just said. Our way of life works in good times, bad times, no times, job or no job, wife or no wife, car or no car, rehab, detox, jail, prison, halfway house, sober living, garage. It works. And I know that from painful experience, repeatedly doing this over and over again. And the only time that I've ever gotten loaded again is simply because there was 1 or 10 things that I was not willing to do or stopped doing. That's it. So if you don't hear anything else, it's absolutely possible to recover and stay recovered. You don't have to keep coming back. If you're here now, you can stay and never have to get loaded again. I know a lot of people. As a matter of fact, my sponsor came from Mexico. He's been sober like a long time. And I have other examples. Like Harry here's been sober like forever. And like he came one time and he's still sober. You know what I mean? There's a lot of examples. And there's my example too, the repeated attempts. So it doesn't matter. Everybody's story is different. And if you take nothing from what I'm talking about, understand this, that the details of my story are mine. They're my details. Everybody's got details. There's four things that all of us have in common, even those of you that I've never met before and don't know your names. And I can prove it right now. The first thing is this. We all got started, right? Yeah or no? Did you get started or not? Okay, cool. It got bad, and you couldn't stop, and you couldn't stay stopped, right? And then it was good. You enjoyed it. You enjoyed it a lot, right? And the last one, we all ended up in a meeting of Heroin Anonymous. On that, everything else is just details. On that, we all agree on. And the fifth one is this. Guess what? We have a common solution that works for everybody, anybody, and anywhere. And if you don't hear anything else, hear that. So anyways, like I go backpacking across the northern tiers of the United States with these two knuckleheads during the winter. And we ended up in Portland, Oregon, and then I migrated down to California, back where I'm from, and I ended up in front of an Alano club, hanging out, because I knew they had to take care of me. You guys have to. You got to do your 12-step work. You know what I mean? You guys have to buy me coffee. You guys got to buy me a hot dog. You know what I mean? You just have to. It's like what you do. You know what I mean? And I knew just enough to be dangerous, and I was hanging around this Alano club because it was a club that opened up at 6 and stay open until 2, and people actually sober up there, hanging around in the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and all those other fellowships. Heroin Anonymous didn't exist at the time, and I would just hang around there, and like eventually somebody took me to detox, and it wasn't detox like the way you guys think. It's just different. It's nothing like here. And so I go there, and I hate this. H&I came in, You know, when I'm getting loaded, I hate you guys. I hate H&I. Seriously. Because I'm in H&I, right? I mean, I'm the patient. I'm not in H&I. I'm actually being whatever. I'm sitting there in this facility, detoxing, again. And I'm sitting there and H&I comes in and, dude, you guys are so annoying, you happy, joyous, and free people. You come in there with this really great message talking about how great your life is and you can be free too. We're like, oh, God, go away. You know what I mean? Can't you see I'm detoxing? Like, my life's caving in on me. Like, what kind of sadistic person would come to a detox to talk about how great his life is to a bunch of people whose life is exploding around him? I don't get it. Go away. You know what I mean? Go away. Please, don't come back. Well, give me a cigarette first, please. Yeah, no, seriously. That was that guy. I'd go hide, start throwing up, faint, whatever. Just don't leave me here. And this is the cool part about it. It's like I'm sitting there again, and this guy, dude, this is this detox, this particular panel, it's a big book. It's a big book study. It's an H&I big book study. And they would come and they'd read the big book to us. And the way they do it is they'd come with big books and cigarettes. And say, you want to read the big book? No. You know what I mean? And then they were like, I'll give you a cigarette. Well, you have to. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Exactly how many cigarettes are we talking here? You know? And I'd sit there and I'd listen to what they had to say. And it was really cool. The point of this story was this. I'm in this detox, right? And they're in there talking, and the first question he asks is, do you know where you're at? Now, I'm the smart guy, right? Well, yeah, I'm in detox. He's like, yeah, but do you really know where you're at? And I'm like, detox. He's like, no. And I go, where am I? He goes, you didn't read the sign out front? And I was like, detox. He's like, no. He goes, you're in a mental institution. This is Metropolitan State Hospital. You're in a mental institution that happens to have a non-medicated detox. And I was shocked. Because it was not a medicated detox. You just basically went there and kicked, and they kind of like let you. And they brought AA meetings, and I got sober again. I went to a halfway house and got sober again in California for 2.5 years, until 2006 when the thought occurred to me it was Sunday and it'd be a really cool idea to shoot some heroin. And I did, again. And this time I ended up migrating to Arizona, Yuma. But before I migrated here, I was living on the side of the freeway, flying the sign because I didn't want to commit any crimes because it was California and I already had 3 strikes. And I didn't want to go to prison, even though I like it there. And because I couldn't shoot heroin anymore. It's different over there now. So that was the only reason, actually. Other than that, prison probably was a good idea. So I come to Yuma because, again, they don't have heroin in Yuma, right? Just like the same reason I went to New York. And I went there, and guess what? Yuma's like walking distance from the border. And my sister-in-law lives literally down the block from the methadone clinic. And I have to pass it to go to the store every morning. And coinkydinky, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to walk past that methadone clinic where coinkydinky, like there's heroin addicts there. Like, who'd have thought? And eventually I met some people that like scored heroin for me, and then it was off to the races again, and it just got bad. Because I was there, and like, when I say my family allowed me to come live with them in Yuma, I probably was like not being a little disingenuous, because like, what that looked like is my sister-in-law had an abandoned trailer in her backyard with no running water and no electricity. The kids used to play hide and go seek in. And they let me live there. And that's where I was living. You know what I mean? In a trailer in the middle of Yuma with no running water, no electricity. Like, I was all right. And I just come from sleeping on the side of the freeway. I had a roof over my head. I thought, like, hey, this is pretty good. Once a day, they'd let me come in and feed me a meal. And then I started shooting heroin. I met some people, and I started getting involved in some other stuff. And eventually I got him, And I started selling heroin again, and I started importing it from Mexico on a regular basis. What ends up happening is that, like, I want to get sober now. Like, it's been, like, since 2006. Now we're into 2008. Like, I want to get sober, so I'm starting to come to detoxes. I'm starting to come to rehabs again, and I'm starting to want to get sober, and it's not happening, and it's not happening, and it's not happening. And, like, I get to the point now where I don't want to get sober anymore. I don't think I can, but I'm going because I want to break. And I would just go in there and I'd hang out for a while, and eventually I'd leave and I'd go right back to Yuma, and the experience of the last detox would be so traumatic I need to shoot heroin to like calm down again. And so 2008 goes by, 2009 goes by, I start going to jail for just petty stuff like traffic violations, and I'm still selling heroin. And eventually 2010 rolls around, and like I'm really wanting to get sober now, and I'm going, and it's not happening. And at this point, it's not fun anymore. It's just not. I didn't know it wasn't fun. It hadn't been fun in a long time, and I didn't know it. But I started becoming really aware of it, because I don't know about you guys. I'm a heroin addict, right? And what happened is, like, in the morning is always the best time, especially if I have something and I ain't got to go nowhere to get it. If I ain't got to call nobody, if it's just there, I can just roll over like, oh, hi, and then like do what I got to do. It's the happiest time of the day. It really is. And there would be all these people. There'd be like people in there with us, and morning would come, and I'd start cutting it up and handing it out, and like I would see the joy in their faces. Like, you know how we are. Like, they'd be happy. Like, give me that. And they'd be doing their business, and then I would be sitting there, and I'd look around, and I'd be, it wasn't fun. Something's not right here. And I'd sit there, and I'd hook up my shot. And at this point, like, I had abscesses all up and down my legs. And if you keep muscling is just pushing it into a muscle, not hitting the vein. If you keep doing that long enough, your muscles start atrophying. They start getting hard to the point where you can't stick a needle in there anymore. And you kind of have to push it between these two knots, and it's so painful. And I would be doing that, and I'd be wondering, like, this is not right. There's something not right with this picture. Like, I'm sitting here, and I'm supposed to be happy, and I'm not happy. And so I started going back to detox again, and I couldn't stay sober. And I just couldn't, and it was painful. And I wanted to be sober. Now, see, all these other times, other people suggested it. There was extenuating circumstances, divorce, jail, whatever, that motivated me to originally get sober. Now I want to. That's gone. It's just me, and I want to be sober, and I can't. It's just kicking my ass. I'd go to meetings, and I just could not. I don't know why, I just couldn't. And I come back from Mexico. It's January 2011. Just another day, nothing special about it. I go, I come back, and we're there, and everybody's happy, and I'm doing what I always do, handing everything out. And I know this now, I didn't know it then. The further I get away from that date, the clearer I can see it. And what happened was this, that like, we come back, and we're sitting there, and we're all doing what we're doing, right? And we're happy. There's no reason to be upset. There's no parole. There's no warrant. There's no ex-wife. There's nothing making me want to get sober. It's just me and these guys, and we're doing what we're doing. And I should be reasonably happy. And I'm sitting there, and I had a thought that wasn't my own that compelled me to do something that wasn't in my nature. And that thought was, let's go to detox again. And it was overwhelming. And I tell the guys, hey man, why don't you take me to detox? And he's like, he just came out of it last week. And then when you came over there last month, you've been going like every 3 weeks. Fuck that, dude. Come on, let's party. And I was like, I want to go to detox. And I just started nagging them. So they were kind of pissed. And then they realized if I'm leaving, that means more for them. So they're like, okay, let's go. So they took me, and I'm walking out, and I stopped, and I was like, wait up. And I ran back over there and took a chunk, just in case. You know what I mean? Because when I go to detox, I always take heroin to taper off with, because I don't think they know how to detox them. I don't know why. It's the way I am. So I took it, and I ended up going to detox. And this is really cool. This is really where I want to get to. I'm the guy that doesn't listen when I'm in detox rehab. I don't want to hear what you guys got to say. And especially if you're a woman, I absolutely don't want to hear anything you got to say, because you're only good for two things. One of them is cooking, the other one, you know. You know what I mean? And that's it. I don't want to hear anything. Just, and sure enough, I'm in detox, and an H&I panel comes in. And it's a dude and a chick. And oh, great. Here they come again telling me how great their life is. And you can be free too. And it's like, oh. So this girl starts talking, man, and for whatever reason I didn't throw up, for whatever reason I didn't pass out, for whatever reason I didn't have to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't get away, and I just sat there. And so I'm sitting in the back, curled up in a ball and whatever, making a show of it, and she just starts talking. Just talking, telling her story. It probably wasn't even her best pitch. Hell, she was probably substituting for somebody else, you know? And she just starts talking. She starts telling her story, and for whatever reason, it sounded like she was talking about me. And it really did. It was like, oh my God, this woman shot heroin. And not just shot it, she sounds like she shot it like I did. And as she talked, it was like the first time anybody ever talked, and I wasn't hearing it with my ears. I was not hearing it with my ears. I was hearing it in the one place that I never thought was even possible. I was hearing it here. And it was just like mind-boggling to me. I was like overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, you're talking about what it feels like to be me. To be loaded when you don't want to be loaded. To break hearts when you don't mean to break them. To like miss appointments. To like keep my mom up at night every time she hears the helicopter. Like, wow, that was amazing shit. And that was it. She left. Nothing happened. So what did happen was this. The next day that lady called me in and said, hey, where do you want to go when you leave detox? So you're going to be leaving soon? And I did one of the things I never did before. I said, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no clue what I'm going to do. But I can tell you one thing. I don't know when or if. It's just a matter of time and opportunity. But I will be back. I'm coming back. I'm going to get loaded again. And there's nothing you or your rehabs or your halfway houses can do for me. I know that now. So send me wherever you want. It makes no difference. I'm coming back. And so she sent me to a halfway house, and this is really cool. Well, she didn't send me yet. She handed me a list of halfway houses, and I shit you not, I still have that list. I have that actual list in my house. And I don't know, it means nothing to you, but it means everything to me. But I still have it. And I sat down by the phone, and I'm flipping through it, and this dude I'd never met before came and said, I think it was the dude. I could have still been, I don't know, I was questioning it. There might not even actually have been anybody there. I know it sounds funny, but there might, I just hear this out. So the dude comes and he sits next to me and he does what you guys do. It's crazy. I was getting 12-stepped by another detoxing heroin addict and detox. Sits down, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm looking for a halfway house, sober living. And he goes, well, he starts talking to me and he tells me that, like, I go, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no job, and I'm kicking about it. And he goes, go to that one right there. And he pointed at one. I go, why? And he goes, because they'll take you without money. And I go, so who do I call? He goes, the guy's name's Jerry. Tell him Eric sent you. So I do that, and I call, and the guy answers, and I tell him, hey, man, this guy named Eric, he sent me. He said, yeah, just come on Comtrans. Have Comtrans drop you off. And so that happened. Comtrans 2 days later came, picked me up and dropped me off there. When that guy, Jerry, was doing my intake, I asked him, like, I bring up that dude Eric. I was like, hey, Eric, say about it. And he goes, who's Eric? I go, the guy I told you about on the phone. He goes, I don't know no Eric. I go, yeah, he looks like, I don't know that dude. I'm like, really? Okay. So I don't even know if that dude existed. I've never met him before. Don't know what whatever. And so this is crazy. Nah, seriously, that's a true story. And then what ends up happening is this. I'm there. I'm in this halfway house, right? And this is really cool. I think I'm there. And I go to this meeting. And it's a Heroin Anonymous meeting. The first meeting I ever went to, and I did not like it. And I identified as a newcomer and a heroin addict that did his job, as was taught to him by his sponsor and his sponsor before him. He came up to me. Shook my hand, introduced himself, gave me his number, and said he would sponsor me. Dude, I'm kicking. I was going to continue kicking for like another 3 weeks past that. And I was horribly sick. And so anyways, that happens, and he starts doing that. And I could not stay sober. I couldn't. I would drink, and he would talk to me, and And what he did, see, I thought he was going to be the guy who was going to take me through the steps and all that, and he wasn't. He was put in my life for another reason. See, his job, I didn't know it then, I know it now looking back, his job was to do one thing. And that was to talk me into going to specific rehab, because he'd been there before, and he did that. He talked me into going to that specific rehab, and the reason why he did that, and we didn't know it then, because God has a plan and I can never see it. I could look back, the further I get away from it and see it, or have a general idea of it, but I can't see it when it's happening. What ends up happening is this, that I go to this rehab and this H&I starts coming in there, and there was this group of guys that came in. As a matter of fact, there's probably some of them here tonight. And like I said, I'd been in and out of these rooms, and I knew just enough to be dangerous to me and a few other people. And they asked if anyone had any questions. I asked a sarcastic comment, and the guy answered it. Because see, he'd been taught by his sponsor and his sponsor before him and the group of guys. He'd been trained for this. See, he was there for two reasons. That's it. He was there to carry the message and to look for somebody to work with, and that's it. And so when I asked that sarcastic question, I thought I was being sarcastic. What he heard was a cry for help. And he did his job. He walked up to me, gave me his number, and said he'd sponsor me. And like when I got there, I wasn't necessarily interested in being sponsored. I had to be sponsored to be in that rehab, and that's crazy because like there was nothing motivating me to be there. Like I could have left, there was no consequence other than getting loaded. So I stayed, and he took me through the book. All of it. And then he moved to Colorado. Then he handed me off to his sponsor. And I'm saying those things because I didn't pick my sponsors. I came, I showed up, and God, I'm going to say this, like, I am so thankful we don't get to pick and choose who we sponsor and who sponsors us. We might think we do, but we don't. I'm here to tell you, we don't get to pick and choose who we get to work with, man. Because, like, God puts somebody in the room that's dying, and he puts somebody with the answer, and the magic happens. And, like, that whole experience I just told you about was, I had a thought that was in my own. It compelled me to do something I wouldn't normally do, and I ended up in that rehab with a guy that I would not have asked to be my sponsor, and he did it. And the only two things he asked me, he didn't say if I was tired, if I ever wanted to stop getting loaded again, or if I was tired of coming to rehab. I probably would have said, yeah. You know what I mean? You wasn't doing anything? Yeah. Can I have a cigarette? You know what I mean? But like, he just said, Gilbert, can you be a man of your word? Can you be consistent? And I paused. I can try. And he goes, when you fall short, I'll remind you. And I don't know why that approach worked, but it worked. And he took me through the book. And nothing happened. Like I don't know, it just happened so gradual. I didn't see it. I didn't feel any effect of any of the steps except the 8th step. And I'll just be really brief with that because I really need to get sober here. What ended up happening was this. Like I went through the whole steps and I didn't feel anything. And I get to the 8th step and that's where I actually felt a huge, huge thing. Because see, the 4th step, yeah, I know. I did it. I know all that stuff. 6 and 7, okay, I'm dying, I need help. Yeah, great. But the 8th step, as it was instructed to me, was I take my 4th step and start from there. Then I add to it. And as I'm writing, I start seeing these names that are not on my 4th step, and they just keep coming. And they're nameless, and they're faceless, and they just keep coming, and they just keep coming. And I look, and I'm like, oh my God, this is me. Like, I did all this to all these people. Every one of them. I did it. Like I hurt all these people in every way you can imagine. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I have no resentment against. I don't even know who they are, most of them. And it just keeps coming. Dude, my 8th step is like huge. Just all these people, and it was horrible. It was horrific for me. Because I could see. There was no more blinders that this is who I am. You know, like, you leave me alone, you leave me untreated, and the worst of me always comes out. It just does. And it was just, like, painful. And I left there, and I started getting busy doing like what Paul said. Man, before I left, I talked to Bryce, and I was like, dude, we're getting ready to leave. And he goes, let's make an exit strategy. And I'm like, okay, cool. What would you have me do? And he said, well, this is what we got to do. You need to get an H&I commitment. You got to get some commitments. That you got to get a home group, and you got to, start trying to sponsor dudes. And fortunately for me, I'd already found Heroin Anonymous, and I was passionate about it. And I told him, well, I have a home group, and I have this and that. And he was like, okay. And I was like, he goes, you can leave. And I go, I'm gonna live with my sisters. And he just really didn't care. You know what I mean? And I was like, what? And I think about it now, it's because like it don't matter where I live, who I'm with, where I work, or anything. What does matter is what he asked me. Do you have a home group? Do you have a commitment? Get an H&I panel. And I did that. I started doing that as best I could, and I ran into Paul, my first... and actually, I ran into Jeff Guthrie and Paul. Excuse me. Anyways, I ran into, there was H&I committee, and Jeff was looking for someone to help on the panel, and Paul had just got in the car, and he wanted to get involved in the panel, and we just jumped in the car, man. We started doing it, and I've been doing it, and like some really remarkable things happened, man. Like I tried to sponsor people, and it wasn't happening, and I was doing these panels, and it wasn't happening, and I would call Bryce like at least once a week, and I'd say, dude, like I was scared, like I was kind of scared. I've been sober before, like I was scared, like if I walked down the wrong corner, like a fucking needle was gonna jump out and mug me, you know what I mean? Seriously, like if I sat on a bench too long, I was gonna have a bottle in my hand, it was gonna force its way down my throat. You know, seriously, I'm like, whoa, I'm scared. I wouldn't tell you that, but I would tell him. And I would call him and I'd say, dude, am I doing enough to be sober? Seriously, let me know, am I doing enough to be sober? Seriously. And he'd be like, calm down. Did you eat? Did you pray? Did you do that meeting? Were you, yeah. And he just talked me through it. And that scared me all the way up until like December 31st, 2011. It was New Year's Eve and I was on my way to this dance. And I got pulled over and I was arrested for a warrant. I thought it was a traffic warrant, and they extradited me to Yuma, and I go over there, and as it turns out, it wasn't a traffic ticket. It was a sealed indictment for 4 Class 2 felonies, sale of heroin to an undercover informant wearing a wire. They had a lot of evidence. And it was just a really scary time, but I did what you guys taught me to do, man. I said the prayers even though I didn't believe them, and I started just saying, God, if this is what I have to do to get right with you and them, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do it. And like I told you before, this is the really cool, the reason why I told you this is the reason. Because I did what I did a long time ago in California, when they fingerprinted me, they did what they do in California. They locked me up and moved me away from everybody. I'm not allowed to play with other people. I'm a threat to safety and security institution. And I'm not that guy no more, but it's my record, and they're not going to take any chances. And so I'm in this cell, and it sucks, man. Like, I don't got no books or anything, and it's just horrible, man. I'm like, damn, I'm sober, and I'm here. Like, I'm segregated from everybody. I can't even go to a meeting. I was pissed. And eventually, my sobriety date is January 24th, 2011. My birthday is January 20th. January 20th, for whatever reason, that institution heard my appeal and they decided that I can come out to general population. 3 days later was January 24th. And I seen this dude that I'd been in rehab with in 2008, and we start talking, and he has no clue that that's my sobriety date. And I got nothing to read, and he walks away, and he comes back, and he hands me a big book on my birthday, my 1-year birthday. I was sober 1 year that day, and some dude hands me a big book in jail. Can't make that up. And then 3 days later, they call and they tell me roll it up. And I'm like, why? You got the wrong guy. I said, no, you're being released. I go, you're being released. I go, no, I know you got the wrong guy. And as it turns out, they released me. I didn't even go to court. I got a letter in the mail with all my counts and why. And I showed it to Bryce, showed it to Harry. They released me, man, because check this out. The informant could not stay sober. He could not stay sober. They had the right guy. They had the informant, they had the pictures, they had the evidence, they had the wire. I mean, I'm not saying I did it, but that tape sounded a lot like a conversation I've had, you know what I mean? And so they just dismissed it because their informant couldn't stay sober, and he would be unreliable on the stand. And I'm here because the informant, one of us, couldn't stay sober. How cool is that? I can't make that stuff up, man. And anyways, like, okay, let me get to some really cool stuff. That was the one big one. There's other really cool stuff here. Like, the other one was this. Like, I had all those resentments against my mom. When I went to prison, she had a stroke. She forgot who I was. In her mind, up until the day she died, she thought I was in prison. She never recognized me. I would go visit her Every time I would go visit her and visit her and visit her, and she just thought I was a relative. She didn't know I was her son. And so I was taught this. My sponsorship line taught me this. Aaron taught me this. Because I wanted to go make amends as soon as I did my next. As soon as I got to the next step, I wanted to call my family and make amends. He said, "That's not what we do." And I go, "What do we do?" He goes, "Well, we can wait." He goes, "What you'll do is this. You will contact your family once a week. We'll commit to once a week. And you call them, you tell them how you're doing, and ask them for nothing, take nothing, and just listen to what they got to say." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "How long?" He goes, "Well, no." So I started doing that. And then I got to rehab, and I was doing this, and I'd make the call, and I'd send the text, and I started communications. I didn't ask for nothing. Just told them how they were doing, listen to how they were doing, and just sit there and listen. And then I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, here's the deal, man. You have been in and out all the time, and every time you get out, what do? I go home, apologize, and get back in the house." He goes, "Exactly. Because we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to talk anymore. We're going to show them. So this is what you do. If you go around them, like your mom or family members, and you have dinner at their house, you do the dishes, throw out the trash. You shut up and be of service to them. You be a good son." And I go, "All right." And he goes on Christmas they get a present, Mother's Day she gets flowers, on her birthday she gets a gift. And you do that in spite of whether she likes it or not, or whether she accepts it or not, or she throws it away. You just be a good son no matter what. Period. That's it. And I go, "Then what?" And he goes, "The time and place will come and we'll know when you can do it." So I started doing that as best I could. And so one day I'm at the house, and everybody goes to California because my mom's in the hospital. She's going to die. They think they got a priest there doing last rites. And what happens is, like, she's getting ready to go under the knife. See, but I've been around you guys a little bit. Like, I've been talking to sponsor. I've been trying to work with dudes. I've been coming to these meetings. I've been listening. I've been going to big book workshops. I've been around you guys, right? I made you guys more important than anything else in my life. And so what happened was this. My sister calls me. And I have my brothers. I'm the baby, right? And I'm the worst one. And they call me, and they're like, "Listen, Mom's getting ready to go under the knife." And I was like, "Okay, why are you calling me?" And they're because we don't know what to do, because they want to know if they want to know if they should resuscitate her or not. And I go, "Well, you're her guardian, you do it." She goes, I can't make that decision." So I go ask Julio, who's my oldest brother, and she goes, "No, they don't want to do it. We want you to do it." And I was like, "What?" Oh, see, like, I'm here. This is my experience. Like, we don't always get to pick and choose when, where, and how we're going to make our amends. And if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, the chances are, if I'm not prayed up, caught up, and like, it's just going to be remorseful mumbling. And I had a thought that wasn't my own. It compelled me to say something I had no idea I was capable of saying. So she puts me on the phone. I say, "Hello, Mom, it's me, Gilbert." And she acknowledged me. "Hey, how you doing?" I don't know what she thought. She might have thought I was still in prison, whatever. And I said, "Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?" And she goes, "Eh." And so we started having this conversation. And I thought that I was going to say, like, "I'm sorry," and all that stuff. What came out was, "Mom, I love you. You're a great mom. You did really good by me. I could never ask for a better mother than you. You taught me well. And I want you to know that I found God and I'm doing good. And like Katie's doing good, brother's doing good." And I started giving her a list of all the beautiful things that were going on in my life and in her children's life. And I touched on everybody's life. And I said, "Listen, Mother, you're getting ready to go under the knife. They want to know if they should resuscitate you, if you should stop breathing or not. And I just want you to know, man, you don't have to worry about me no more. I'm all right. I'm with God. I'm doing good. And like, if you're tired, you don't have to watch over me no more. You can go to sleep if you need to, and know that I'm okay." And so she asked me a few more questions, and I answered them. I just told her I loved her. And I said, "So what do you want to do?" And she goes, "I don't want to be resuscitated if I stop." And it was awesome, dude. I don't know where that came from, but I said that. And then she had her procedure, and, as God would have it, she didn't pass. And then I was able to go there. I took my daughter, Katie, and I went in person. And I tried to do it in person. Well, I did. I went over there and I started doing the pitch, so remember alcoholic. And I started doing it, right? And I'm doing it, and Katie's there, and I'm like, "Mom, I've been back then." She was like, "Why is your head shaven?" And I'm like, "What?" "I don't know, I've always shaved." And she knew who I was. That's what blew my mind. Because remember I told you she had a stroke in the 80s and she didn't remember who I was. This is the first time she ever, not the first time, this is the first time she ever recognized me. So I don't know what mental image she had in her head of me, but it wasn't what I was. I had shaved head and a goatee, and I was like, she goes, why is your head shaved? I go, I always do. And she goes, you should grow your hair back. Whatever. And so I go back and I just started doing the pitch, right? And she stopped me again. And she says, why do you have a beard? And I'm like, I always have a beard. And she goes, you should shave. You'd look more handsome without it. Okay. And so I go back to my pitch, and she goes, get out the way. And I go, why? She goes, I want her to come here and massage my hand. And it was my daughter, her namesake. And so she did that. And then she goes, comb my hair. And I went to comb. She goes, not you, her. Okay. So my daughter started combing her hair. And then I got back to the motel room, and I was like, Bryce, I tried to do it. She wasn't having it. And then it dawned on me that what she had asked me to do. That was her last instruction to me. Shave your face and grow your hair out. And I'm here to tell you, man, I'd rather figure out at the time, time travel, how to colonize Mars than shave, than grow my hair out and shave. It was really difficult, but I did it. And I've continued to do that. Even she was surprised when she seen me with hair and shaved face. And what ended up happening is she ended up passing away. And when she did, I called Bryce and I let him know. And it was good. It was sad. But I'd gotten right with her because, see, you guys taught me something. You guys told me that me going to you and apologizing for the wrongs that I did is cool. But it's actually not the amends. Those are just the announcements of the amends. The actual amends is not to continue doing that behavior. That's the actual amends. I have to live it. Me saying, Mom, because see, I thought for years that Mom, I'm sorry I stole your china. Mom, I'm sorry I got your house raided. Mom, I'm sorry, is what I was supposed to do. It's not. See, it's not. I have to be a good son. So if I go back to you and say I stole from you, me giving you back your money is absolutely necessary and important, and apologize, but the actual amends is not to steal anymore. Period. I have to live it. And so she passes away. I'm indigent. I don't really have money, so you guys helped me bury my mother. You guys gave me the money I needed to be a good son. So I went over there. Paul rented me a car. Johnny paid for it. And I went over there, man, and I did what you guys told me. Bryce is always telling me, when you go over there, do not put the spotlight on you. It's not about you. You're there to be of service to them. So I went and I did that. When they asked somebody to read, me and my daughter read. When they had the services, I wasn't overly emotional. I wasn't wailing and crying and throwing myself in the grave. I just shut up and let everybody grieve. And I grieved quietly with my daughter. And then when we got back to the house and everybody gathered and they were at my family's house and they were eating, I did what you guys taught me to do, man. I went over there and I helped serve the elders. I sat them all down. I brought them plates. When Katie came, she helped. See, I didn't know this, man, but the last time I had been around my mom was 1982, right? And there was my mom had this big thing she would do. She would have this big Thanksgiving dinner, and all the family would come. We'd have a great time. In 1982, it was raining, and I went out with some friends. I got drunk. I think I shot some heroin. I came home, and I made a spectacle of myself. I walked in with one shoe on, and I was just a hot mess, man. I embarrassed my mother on her night. And then she sent me to the room, and I went in there. I climbed up on my top bunk bed when she told me not to, and I fell off with a big thud, man. And then it just embarrassed her. And that was the last time my family, my mom, was able to, was supposed to have this big event with all her kids there, and I made a spectacle of myself. And so when we went and we buried her, and I was able to be of service as you guys taught me, and I was able to do those things and not make a spectacle of myself, I might have been a horrible son all my life, but you guys did the impossible. You guys returned my mother her son safe and sound, and I was able to live and practice the principles that she had taught me as a kid. I was able to, in her death, to redeem her in a sense, to show her family, my family, that she had taught us well. I represented her well. Now, I don't know if there's any consciousness on the other side of death, but I'm pretty sure she's over there saying, yep, that's my boy. You know what I mean? Because, I did what you guys taught me to do, and I was able to go over there and not make a spectacle of myself and be a good son. And I came back. And life went on. And here's the other thing I wanted to say too about that. Like on the night that I was supposed that my mother passed away, it was August 29th of last year. I was asked to speak at a meeting of Heroin Anonymous, and I knew about it for a long time. And on the way over there, I got the message that my mother had passed. And I'd been taught by you guys not to make a spectacle of myself, not to like my home group says, be careful, watch your language, you represent in your home group. You know what I mean? And like, I went and I, with my heart breaking, with wanting to be anywhere other than there, I went to the only place that's safe for me. I went to that meeting, I did the job as I was instructed to do. I sat there and I carried the message of Heroin Anonymous, and I did not make a spectacle of myself or get overly emotional. I just did what I was asked to do, and I went home and cried. And then the next day, see, because I'd been doing this, I have this routine that I do. I have a life full of you guys. The next day I had work, I had H&I panels, so there was no time to be alone. So I just did what I said I was going to do, and I went to the place I was going to go. And then the next day, Johnny had called me and said that like he was going to have an engagement party. He was going to ask his then girlfriend to marry him. And so I went there. And I didn't tell him what had happened, man, because you guys, Bryce had taught me not to put the attention. This is his most important day of his life. What kind of a dick move would that be to go out there and say, oh yeah, my mom died, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't. I went there, I showed up, and I was a part of. And I was able to bring something to the table. And I was able to be a part of that beautiful moment. And life went on, dude. We buried her, she's gone, and I was able to get right with her. And I've been able to get right with a lot of people in a lot of situations, and I couldn't have done that without you. Everything good, valuable, positive, or anything that I have in my life was given to me. The job I have, where I live, this sports coat, how I got, just everything was given to me by Heroin Anonymous and or Alcoholics Anonymous. And I just showed up and I started doing what I was supposed to, and like as best I could, and these things happened. Let me tell you really quick this last story, and we're out of here because I know we got to go. And this is this. I can only look back and tell you, I can see God's work. When I look back, I can't see it when it's happening. I just don't have that capability. But this is what happened. I remember I'd been whining to a friend of mine that worked in this rehab detox, and I was telling her I'd been doing these panels, and I can't find a sponsee. And it's funny, man. I thought I was just whining. As it turns out, it was a prayer. And I said, I need somebody to work with. And so one day I'm at a meeting. It's called Smack to Serenity. And she says, hey, there's a dude coming off a Comtrans bus, and he's going to look for you. So I'm there. I'm hanging out. Comtrans pulls up, and like, there's this dude. He looks a little rough around the edges, and he starts talking to me. And I'm like thinking, dude, there's not much to work with here. This is not a really good prospect. You know what I mean? But like I said, we don't get to pick and choose who we work with, so I just said, yeah, come on. I took him in the meeting. He took a chip. I read the book with him, and he ended up staying sober. You know what's really cool about that story is this. Like, he went into that meeting, right? And I introduced him to some people, and he met, like, his best friends, who were going to be his best friends, literally. He met, like, his future roommates right there, right? And the woman who gave him his newcomer chip ended up being his fiancée. And now they own a home, or they're buying a home, and he has a business, he has a daughter, and he's still happy. And he's the one that asked that girl to marry him when my mother died. How cool is that? His first meeting, you know? His whole life was laid out before him. And I always tell him, dude, if I would have told you all you got to do is show up here at this time and this place, and I got a life, God has a life beyond your wildest dreams waiting for you. All you got to do is show up. Just show up. Would you have done it? And he said, no, I wouldn't have either. Who'd have thought? You know what I mean? Like nobody, you can't write that in a book. And then like this other dude, like, I remember when I was in the celly, I got out and I was doing all these other panels, and we started this meeting. Like, there's a lot of things I didn't do, man, in my life. A lot of firsts. I never graduated. I never hit a home run. I never, caught a touchdown. I never hit the winning goal. I never done a lot of things. Never been to a prom. So many things I've never done in my life. But what I have been a part of is some really beautiful firsts. Like, I was part of the first HA retreat. I went to that. I was part of starting the first HA pool party. I was part of the starting a meeting. I was part of speaking at the first ever Heroin Anonymous convention. I had some really cool firsts. And the other one was this dude starts coming around, man, and for whatever reason, I don't know what he's seen in me because I don't have much. He asked me to sponsor him, man, and I started sponsoring this dude as best I can. And it's whatever, and he's staying sober. Wow, it's crazy, staying sober. And what ends up happening is like he's having trouble, he's bouncing out of in and out of, gets kicked out of rehab, he's in and out of this sober living, that sober living. And it's just like, yeah, it's, you know, whatever. And calls me one day because he's always complaining about this little shitty job he's got. And finally I had enough. I said, dude, just quit your job, get another job. You know what I mean? And he did. And now he is on the way to buying a house. Like, making more money over hands and fists. He sponsors a bunch of dude, has a great life, just had a kid. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow. I got to see that. I got to watch the fellowship grow up about me that I didn't even know I wanted. And it was awesome. And it's been awesome. And like Heroin Anonymous is celebrating its 10-year anniversary, and that's awesome. But that H&I panel that I told you, where I got my sponsor, it's a men's stag meeting. It's called Dog Tired Men's Stag. And we meet every Tuesday at 7:30 at St. Daniel's the Prophet Church in Scottsdale on Hayden and Roosevelt. All men are welcome. You know what I mean? And like, we go there, right? And they celebrate their 10th year anniversary. Yeah, on 4th of July, and it was awesome. These two guys get together and they start this men's stag meeting, and 10 years later we had people from California, Nevada, and where else? Like, I don't know, all kinds of places. There was like 200 people there to help us celebrate our way of life. Who'd have thought? And I got to be a part of that too, man. And like, it's an awesome life we have, man. And I just want to thank all of you guys for coming on Sunday morning and helping us like put this shindig on. I love Heroin Anonymous. And like, again, I'll end with this, man. If you're new, you're coming back, please, if you hear nothing else, just know that like our way of life works all the time. And it's just a matter of me like letting go of some stuff. You know what I mean? Like it says in the book, man. Like it says something about wanting like Galileo and Columbus, and like if you're anything like me and you're like, what the heck does Galileo got to do with me sticking a spike in my arm? You know what I mean? Or what's Columbus got to do with anything? You know? And what it is basically this, is that I come in here with these fixed ideas of who I am, who you are, and how the universe works. And until I let go of those fixed ideas, I can't move past them. Period. I'm stuck. It's not so much heroin that's got me, it's me. I think, therefore I'm stuck. And what I think keeps me stuck. And unless I let go of that and take on some new ideas or some new concepts, I'm going to stay stuck. And it don't matter how many rehabs, detoxes, or meetings I go to, there's some stuff that needs to be done for me to remove that so that I can get past it. And I'll end with this. A long time ago, there was this dude, there was these two friends, and like they were really cool friends, and one of them was kind of like an evangelist, and he'd go from town to town talking these really cool stories, and the other dude got sick. He got really sick. And so they sent out a messenger, hey dude, you know, he's dying. You should come talk to him. And he said, okay, I'll get over there. But he didn't get there in time. He died. The guy died. And so when he gets back, the dude's dead. And somewhat it's too late now, you get to say goodbye. So he goes over there, and whatever he does, dude comes back to life. And he's grateful. He's like, wow, I was dead, now I'm alive. What do I got to do? Just go tell people you were dead and now you're alive. That's it. Just go tell people you were dead and now you're alive. And that's all I'm here to say, is that I was dead and now I'm alive, and you can be too. Thanks for listening.